And now I just gotta. Just let me reinitialize the stream and we'll be all good. And re-ring. Paste and live stream. Okay. Okay, sorry for a small delay there. And okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Did I lose you all? Did you all get hold of the stream? Yes? Okay. Then. Okay. So, now you're getting an echo and reverb. Let me switch the mic up in here. And we shall begin. Okay, so to start with, what we were saying just previously, okay, up here at the top of my screen, and I have object mode, which is right there. You've got object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode, vertex paint, weight paint, and texture. The two we'll be mainly using for the lessons are object mode and edit mode. Okay, that's for selecting what type of mode you're in. Object mode, all that object mode does is quite simply, the object mode, all you do is you're switching between whether you're manipulating the object or whether you're editing the mesh. Object mode, manipulating objects. Edit mode, editing the mesh. Okay, then you've got the toolbar, which is here. This toolbar will change as we switch between modes. I'll just show you that quickly. So I'm in object, I select my object, I'm in object mode. I go to edit mode, and the toolbar will change. You get all these wonderful gizmos, which we will go through over time. Right now, I'm going to switch back to object mode. Okay, the next thing is, we've got, over on the far side, you've got this view mode. This view mode here. Okay, I'm selecting and I'm clicking on wireframe. I'm selecting on solid view. I'm selecting on material view. Now, the material preview. Now, those two modes don't look very different because we're not actually putting any material on our poor cube. Okay. Next up, we have the navigation, the outliner. This will show you everything that's in your current scene. The camera, the cube, the light. Notice the one in orange is the one you've got selected. Then we have the properties tab, which is down here, which has got lots and lots of features that we will go through as we need them over time. Yep, but that's where your properties panel is. Say properties panel, you're there. Scene there, view mode up there, edit mode up there, toolbar there. Okay, so that's where we are. And now, okay, you got the, oh yes, one more, the navigation wizard. This wizard here, which is quite important, nearly forgot it. Notice when I'm clicking it, my scene moves as a circle. Yeah. There is shortcuts for people with 3-button mouses. There is shortcuts for Mac, etc. But all of you should have that little 3-button widget. If you've not got it, shout now. Okay. So, we're up to... Oh yes, and of course, the most important piece on the actual whole thing is this thing, the must-aligned default cube. Most of the videos you will have seen, if you've been looking up videos of Blender, will tell you to delete the default cube. Please don't. Old Faulty needs love too, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start by using Faulty. Faulty will be our go-to for the time being. You can all, by the way, type in into the avatar life if you wish to. I can see it. Okay. Faulty. What about Faulty? Well, he's a cube. We're not going to do anything with Faulty for a minute. Nope, we're not. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to our document. Okay. So we've taught you through the various places. Well, hopefully now you know a little bit about the Blender interface. Before we move on to actually making things, you will hear Blender people talk a lot about workflows, and there's a typo there, because that's the wrong here. Yes, I'm dyslexic. We will talk about workflows. A workflow, in simple terms, is a way of working. There are numerous different workflows for Blenders, because over the time, users develop their own workflows. You, over time, will probably develop your own workflow. The simple reason for this is there's a massive amount of things you can do with Blender and a lot of different ways to do them. Okay, so let's make our first scene. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make a scene. Yep. We're going to actually make something. Yep. That's where we're up to. We're going to actually make something. Okay. Are we all up to speed with that bit? Are you all okay up so far? By all means, type. Guessing that you are. So we will move along. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my scale tool, which is here. This one here. Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop because I'm about to do something completely wrong. Can anybody tell me what I'm about to do wrong? I haven't decided on my workflow. That's what I've done wrong. Can't make without a workflow. Okay, so steps to the workflow. Okay, what do you want to make? The only limit on what you can make is your imagination and how much time you have to invest. Blender is a time investment, not a money investment. Step 2, get a reference. Saying I'm going to make a table is fine, but what's my table going to look like? Well, we don't know. In this, Google is your friend. Later I'll show you various ways you can find stored organized references, but for now, this is a table. Yep. Okay. We're going to do the table. Right, so, should we find a table? Would that be good? We'll do that in a second. Okay. So, okay. 10% rule. 90-10 rule. Do 90% of the work in 10% of the time. We don't need to be perfect to begin. We just need to get it done. One of the worst mistakes people make in Blender is they will spend hours trying to make one little thing perfect. You don't need to be perfect. Honestly, nobody does. Okay. Next up, okay, is, so we do 90% of the work in 10% of the time. That leaves us 90% of the time to get everything just right and just perfect. Step 4, mistakes. Making mistakes is actively encouraged. I want you to make mistakes. Why? Because half the time in Blender, and I know this from experience, mistakes turn out to be a good thing because you learn more by making mistakes than if you never make a mistake. Okay? The next thing up is save often. Saving in Blender is easy and even has incremental saves, so you can store versions of your scene so you can go back. Will Blender crash on you? The answer is yes. If you end up with a Blender crash, you've just lost what you were trying to do, and because you didn't save. Honestly, the biggest mistake in Blender is not saving often enough. How often do you need to save? If you think you're saving often enough, the answer usually is you're not. But don't go crazy. Okay, make a mesh. The best make a mesh based on the reference. Apply all the transforms and modifiers. A large complex mesh, you can duplicate it, so you have a backup of it at all times. It will be sensible to break this rule, but for now it's important. Apply all, honestly, because it's for the next step. UV. Ooh, the infamous UV. UV unwrapping. UV unwrapping, well, it's important for some materials. In essence, all you're doing is getting Blender to cut up your model and flatten it so all the faces lay flat on a 2D map. Blender is awesome at UV unwrapping. It's got various tools which we will show you, but it is very important. Materials. You will hear people say Blender is very, very difficult to texture things. Well, oddly, no. It's just, well, different. Step 10, 90%. Now it's time for your 90% of the work. This is where you tweak things, go back through the steps, and keep tweaking till you are happy. That moment you sit back and go, wow, that looks amazing. Something you won't get. Sometimes you won't get to this, usually due to time constraints. Baking. We will not be touching baking anytime soon, but it's part of the workflow. Baking textures is very, very, very powerful. Unfortunately, OpenGrid is not, well, it isn't yet as powerful as Blender for textures. So we need to basically bake the textures into 3-layer texture model it currently has. It can be annoying, but it's a necessary evil. Upload. Upload your creation to be proud. Show off to your friends, loved ones, your nearest and dearest, even passing strangers. If they ask where you got it, I made it in Blender. And step 13, repeat. Well, now, welcome to the dark side. You're a 3D content creator. Welcome to the club. Well, not quite yet. Okay, let's make something. Oh, step 1, reference. Well, you can see there on my let's make something. My reference is a picture of a table. Guess what? We're going to make a table. Should we get on with doing that? Yeah. Is that what we're going to get on with doing? Good. Let me make a table. Okay, so I've got default. I'm not going to make one table, by the way, so don't panic. Hello? So the first thing I've done is used my scale tool. I've just scaled it down. Just 1 second. I'm answering the question in AL that somebody has a problem. Okay, what's the problem? Okay, so we're back onto the live stream. Okay, so all I've done is I've used my scale tool to scale down the table. Yeah, and I'm moving my table across. Now I'm lucky I've got two monitors, so I've actually got my reference picture on the other screen. So I'm doing is basically stretching it out to make it about the same size of a tabletop. And I'll move it up a little bit because we need to add something else. There you go. We got a tabletop. We're all done. You all happy now? There you go. You got a table. No, because our table doesn't have any legs. Now we need to add legs. What I'll do is I'm only going to make one leg. I'm going to add cube. Yeah, mesh cube. There we go. Add mesh cube. Boom. That makes another big cube. Another default cube. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to stretch and make it smaller. Now I want to make it as small as a leg of a table. So I'm just going to, maybe that big. Don't have to be exact. I'll show you how to make things exact a little bit later. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to click on my Y, because it gives me the side view, because I need to know where I'm going to put my leg. So I need to move my leg that way and up. And now I'm going to click on the X to move it to the edge of the table. So we've got our table. Now we've got one leg. One leg's not very good. It's a wonky table. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click it. Lots of things on Blender on a right click. Yeah, brings up the context menu. I'm going to duplicate the object. Click. Make sure you click once you've duplicated and move it across. And you'll see you've got two. If you don't end up with two, just put it back and I'll repeat the process. I'm going to right click, duplicate object, and I'm going to move it. Okay. And I'm going to rotate around my table and just carry on duplicating the object. All you're trying to do is put 4 legs under the table. You don't even have to be straight. Yeah. For now, we have a table. Hopefully you've all now know how to make a table. Okay, we're done. That's it, class over. Wow, that was quick. No, because the next thing we've got to do is we've got to do something. We've got to follow our steps. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on all of the objects. And because at the moment, they're all separate pieces of mesh. All separate objects. That's not very good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click it and I'm going to join them together. Join. There we go. Now it's all one mesh. That easy. Just join. Now, the next thing we're going to do is what we said. I'm going to go to Object, Apply, All Transforms, Dunk, Done. Yep, that's it. Now we're going to go to UV, and we're going to look at UV maps. Okay, UV maps will automatically pick whatever object you've got selected. So we've only got one object, the table now. So we're going to unwrap the table. Now, the quick and easy shortcut is UV, Smart UV Project. Later you will play with all these various other options, but for now you just need Smart UV Project. We just need a UV map. The thing UV Project does is it wraps it the best it can as it thinks best. Not necessarily is best, because you're smarter than a computer. Trust me, you are smarter than a computer. Okay, so it's unwrapped the UV. Yeah. Now, let me just show you something. That tabletop there, okay, if I go to Face Select, which is that one there, we've got a Vertex Select, H Select, Face Select. And I'm face selecting the face, and that one will turn a lightish orange color, and it will show me where it is on the UV map. And don't worry, we will fix this at a later date. But now I click on that one, and that edge, which is next to that one, isn't actually next to it, all the same size. Don't worry about it. We're not worrying about it for now. Select all. So we've got UV map. That's it. That's all. You could save this out to this UV map, but we don't need to. But now we're going to go on about saving. Okay, so I'm going to go back to layout mode. Don't particularly need to. It's just I always go back to layout mode before I do anything. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to save it. Right, where am I going to save it? Well, you'll notice I've already got a folder set up. It's on my G drive because that's where I put my Blender stuff. Blender, tutorial, week 1. Okay, and you notice I've already got a table over there and a table over here. Yeah, well, I'm going to obviously call it table, and I'm going to call it 2 because it's a different table. It's save as. So we've got our table saved. Now, so we've got a UV map done. The next thing to do is quickly before, yeah, we've got time. Now we're going to talk about a plugin. We've done our steps. We've got a table. We've not got a material yet, but we've got a table. Okay, and there are mistakes on our table which we're going to fix, but not on this table. Okay, object. Yeah. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is going to talk about plugins. Blender has hundreds, if not thousands, of plugins you can use. Some of them are already built in. Some of them you will need to download. Some of them you'll be downloading and installing. Some of them are paid for them. A lot of them are free. But edit. Preferences. This is where plugins live. Okay? So the plugin I want to make sure I've got installed are a couple. The first one is something called Node Wrangler. Node Wranglers. Blender operates on procedural models, which is basically it does things computer as almost like a computer program. Don't worry, it's not a computer program. It's just a chart of individual nodes. But therefore, we need Node Wrangler. Yeah, Node Wrangler makes life so much easier when it comes to nodes. If you only install one plugin, install Node Wrangler. Seriously, it's a lifesaver. So I've got Node Wrangler installed. You can see my Node Wrangler is already installed because I use it a lot. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a material. Notice a material, not a texture. AV uses textures, not materials. All those textures together build up to a material, but they're not a material by themselves. Blender uses materials. So we'll go in. Let's go to our materials. Now, materials. Okay. This is, yeah, okay, sorry. I'm going down to the modifier, a little red world. Not the first red world up there, because that's the world itself, the scene. And going down to the bottom one, second from the bottom, which is materials. And I'm going to go to color. And I'm just going to pick a random color. And hang on, nothing's happened. Notice it hasn't changed because I'm in solid view. I want to be in material preview. And now you can see I've got a blue table. Not a very good blue table, but blue table. Now, I'm going to make a pink table, a green table. Well, it's a bit boring, isn't it? It's not really a table. Okay. Because the material doesn't have enough detail. That's simple. There's lots of settings down here under material that you could go through and tweak individually. But Blender, in their wisdom, made material nodes. And it made it made a special editor just for them. It is not the texture paint editor, it is the shading editor, which is up here on the top bar. Click shading. And we've got a shading editor. Okay. Now, we could go through and plug all, let me just make this a bit bigger so you can read it better. We could go in and plug all these stuff in to the principal BSDF. Principal as in main, A BSDF, I never remember the acronym for, but it's basically how you output the BSDF to the material. It's how it builds the material up. Okay, and we've got base color. We made it green, showing you're still in the same material that we had before. Let me just pull that down a little and scroll back out, and I will change this now to red. See, same material. Okay, so we could spend a lot of time teaching you where all the various bits go in, which we will do over later. But for now, I'm just going to go right click, and I'm going to go to Node Wrangler, and I'm going to go, I just want a material. That's all I want. I'm clicking on the Principled BDS, so Node Wrangler knows which one I want to add it to. Tell it where I want to add it to, and I just click Add Texture Setup. Dunk. Yeah, and it doesn't do anything because that's not what I want to do. So, Control Z. Anything in Blender, you can either click Edit. Let me just redo that. Apply Texture. You can click Edit, Undo, and it will go back a step, just like any other software, or Control Z or Command Z on a Mac. But what we actually want to do is I want to add a Principled shader because I want to fill all of this in. So I'm going to add a Principled setup, and it will bring me up to this. Okay, and now we're going to add some textures. So I'm going into G Drive, which is where my Blender stuff is. I'm going into the tutorials. I'm going to share all of the materials for this on to the Google Drive link, which I will be giving you shortly before I let you go, or I might message you later because, well, you know, I tend to forget things. Okay, so the one, I've got lots of wood textures here. Notice this is a preview of what they look like, and this is the wood texture. But that's the wood. Okay, but in this texture library, it's also got an AO, which I need. So I'm going to click the wood, and then I'm going to control and click the wood, the mesh, the mesh, the mesh, the mesh. Okay, I've got an AO. I've got a bump. AO, ambient inclusion. It's how shadows, light falls on shadows on a map. Bump. It's how, obviously, how bumpy your map is. Yeah? Okay. Displacement. Displacement is an odd one because displacement works with normals. Displacement will can actually alter the physical mesh itself. AVL doesn't have a displacement map, so you will combine it with the normal map. And then I've got the wood aboard specular map, how shiny it is. Yeah. So we'll click select them all, make sure I've got them all selected, and then I will just double check I've got them all selected, and I'll hit Principled SBF. Yeah. And now you can see my table's still red. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because although I told it to set up a Principled SBF, yeah, what it's done is it's gone, okay, no problem. But you've already got a base color in here. Now, I could, by all means, go back and do that step again, easily. Or I could show you how to actually add an individual node. So, we're going to add search, and I'm going to add a texture node, because that's what I'm adding, a texture. Image texture, right there. Okay. Okay, let me zoom back in so you can see what I'm doing. Move that up out of the way for a minute. I'm going to open, and I'm going to go back to my free wood texture. I'm going to go back to my free woods, and I'm going to go back to this one. That's one I like. I like walnut. So I'm going to open walnut. Okay. Now walnut at the moment, if I just drag it off and go color and into here, watch what happens. Well, I do get a walnut-ish. Yep, see? But it does still not look very good, does it? No. Okay. The reason being is the walnut is not using our UV map we need. See here, UV, mapping. How are the texture maps to the mesh? UV, vector. So if I take the vector out of here and plug it into here, I will now, should see a little bit better of a result. Let's just check. I'm just dragging up and down on the screen between the two bars so I can see them. Okay, so UV. There we go. Yeah. Okay. A UV is unwrapped. It looks a little bit better. Still not brilliant. Looks a little bit to me like it's a bit dug in. As in like maybe there's too much going on. Okay. So guess what? We will go back up. We will come back down. And I'm moving around my screen. Now, okay. So, let me just see. So do this much automatically. Over here, little bar, move around the screen. You've got a 3-button mouse, use your middle wheel, scroll up and down. Yeah. But here, little bar on the side of the screen. Because what I'm looking for, and I'll bring this down a little bit, just so I can see it. Now I found the right part of the screen. Yeah. I'm looking to be on that bump. Yeah. See where it says bump? That's what I want, because that's what's up with it. It's too bumpy. So I'm going to turn my strength of my bump way down. And you notice it's turned the way bump down on the thing. Okay. I notice now it doesn't look like I've literally made it of planks. Yeah. Okay. We've made a table. That's what we've done. Oh, and we've made a texture. Layout. What do you think I'm going to do now? Anybody know? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to file, save as. Yep. And I'm going to +1 on my save, and I'm going to save it there. And there you go. We've made a table. Okay. I'm going to switch back into AVL for a moment, into there. When you catch up, you can always up in AVL and tell me what, well, things that are wrong with my table. Well, first of all, what's wrong with my table, from my opinion, is one, well, it looks okay, but it's a bit wobbly. It's a bit wonky. It doesn't look quite right, does it? Okay. So, I made a table. Now, remember our rule. There's 1,000 ways of doing things, and each and every individual way has reasons for doing it that way, and reasons for not doing it that way. And I told you I'd take you 1,000 ways of doing things wrong. Well, I just taught you how to build a table. Now I'm going to teach you how to build another table. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to edit on the table, and I'm going to throw it away over there somewhere. And I'm going to go over to and add our default cube, because, well, default cube needs some love. Cube. Yeah. The next thing I'm going to do is absolutely nothing to default cube in object mode. Everything else to default cube, we're going to do in edit mode, apart from one thing. We already know we've got a texture, a material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in there. I'm already on texture mode down here. Sorry, material properties down here. If you're not on material properties, just click the little word here. I could make a new material. I'm not going to. I'm going to select the little drop down and I'm going to give it the material we already made. Dunk. Notice default cube now looks snazzy in its nice wood texture that we already made. Okay. Now, as I said, everything else I'm going to do in edit mode. So I'm going to go into edit mode. Yep. There is a reason for doing it in edit mode, and I'll tell you what it is in a second. So now I've got face select already selected, and I'm going to go dunk and click my move tool. I'm going to move the bottom of my table up so it's about table height. Notice the mesh changes. I'm editing the mesh. Okay, I'm now moving this face this way, and I'm moving that face that way. Okay. Right. I'm now going to do something that you'll be doing, I'll spend a lot of time doing, which is I'm going to cut our mesh up. I'm going to add more mesh, basically. Loop cut will add a straight line across your mesh. Basically like as though you were cutting the mesh in half without actually making two meshes. So I'm making a loop cut there, and I'm just going to move the loop cut towards the edge of the table. The reason being, I'm trying to make the extra mesh pieces so we can pull out the legs. And I'm going to put another loop cut, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Yep. Over here. Yep. Now, if I make a mistake, like I made there, and I put my loop cuts in the wrong place, because I've still got a wonky table, I'm going to select the move tool, edge tool, and notice it goes orange, but that's the wrong line. It's this line I need to move, so I'm going to select it, and I could select each piece with the shift hold down and go around. But if I hold Alt down, it will select the whole edge all the way around that loop that we made. Okay, so we need to move the loop over. So let's just do that. Move, loop, over. And then we'll move the loop over. And we're trying to make it about even with the other side. There is a method for making it exactly even. We'll show you later. Okay, but at the same time, I'm going to do exactly the same process, loop cut. This time I'm going to cut it on the other edge, this edge. So I'm going to put my loop cut in, drag it across, loop cut in, drag it across, loop cut in, and I could do this all day long. And yeah, we could have fun if you like doing loop cuts, or by all means. Okay, but instead of which, yep, I'm going to delete them all. So I'm going to use Control Z and go, I've got a better way of doing this, because there's a better way of doing it. Okay, so we're getting rid of all those loop cuts. Dunk. Yep. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one loop cut in the middle there, one loop cut in the middle there. I'm cutting the mesh in four. There's a reason I'm cutting the mesh in four. I'm then going to go to this one, which is your vertex mode. The individual points of the mesh are your vertex. And then I'm going to select those, and I'm going to right click and delete vertex. I'm deleting all the ones on that side. Now you'll notice it didn't delete them all. Why not? Well, I'll show you. Control Z. This here is X-ray mode. It says it toggle X-ray. I'm going to switch on X-ray, which now lets me see all the way through the mesh. Notice I can see the point on that side. I can see the point on this side. And I'm going to select all now, and now it will select all the way. So now again, right click, delete vertex. I'm going to do exactly the same thing So I end up with a quarter of our table. And I'm going to right click, delete vertex. Now I've only got a bit of table. Not going to be many people coming for dinner on that table. Okay, so we're going to use our first modifier. Modifiers are an absolute godsend in Blender. Modifier there. Yeah. And I'm going to add the modifier. And I'm going to use the mirror modifier. So the little spanner. Yeah, let me just click throw that again because it's important. Let me just get rid of that one. And I'm going to down here. So I've got my mesh selected. I'm in edit mode. See, got my mesh selected. I'm in edit mode. I'm going to click modifier, little spanner, add modifier. And then I'm going to click on the mirror one. Now, if you're in 4.1, it's under, when you click modifier, you select generate. And then the mirror modifier is under there. See, it's under generate here as well. They're just not split up the same. Mirror. Okay. Now, it's made me 2 halves of mesh, but only 2. Because it's made me them on the XY axis. X going across. Yeah, it's going to make a mirror there in the X-axis. Y-axis now makes me 4. So I can either have 2 that way, or all 4. So for this process, we need X and Y selected. We're now done with the modifier. You just made a modifier. Honestly, you'll be doing lots and lots and lots of things with modifiers. There is 1,001 things you can do with modifiers. Some of them great, some of them confusing, some of them very, very useful. Mirror modifier is a godsend because it saves you doing 4 times the work. So now I'm going to do the same process I did before, but I'm going to do it far quicker. I'm going to go on my loop cut, and I'm just going to make 1 loop cut on that edge. Don't need to worry about any of the other mesh, or 2 loop cuts on that edge. Mirror modifier is taking care of all the rest of the stuff I'm doing. It's doing exactly the same thing, mirrored onto the other 4 sections of the mesh. And I've now got a leg. Well, I've not. I've got a hole. I've got a leg, a place to put my leg, but I've not got a leg. Well, what we're going to do now is I'm going to go back to face mode. And now you're going to see some magic. We go back to select. Do not use loop cut. Before you click, make sure you unselect. Okay, select. Still give me loop cut, so select. Still give me loop cut, select. There we go. Make sure you're on select. If you're on select, you'll get a little. Then we click on face mode. And we click on the bottom of our mesh on the one little face that's our leg. Well, the hole for our leg. And we're going to click extrude, just like that. And now what we're going to do, we're going to add more mesh, extrude, and we're going to take it downward. Now, when you're extruding, you can either go normal or XYZ. In this case, it doesn't matter which, but if you went XYZ, you'd have to define that you're using the X-axis, not one of these or one of those. But I'm going to use normal for now. And I'm going to select and drag our leg down. And now, once again, guess what we have? We have a table. That's it. A table. Nice and easy. Okay? It is not been on UV unwrapped yet. We've got a material on it, but it's not been UV unwrapped. We could leave it there and go, okay, I'm happy with it, and we'll just sort out the scale of the material when we get into AVL. But let's not do that. Let's do it the right way. So, okay. We are going to go in, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and UV unwrap it. So before we UV unwrap it, our rule from our workflow is we go back to object mode, and then we go to object, and we apply all transforms, we also apply all modifiers unless there's a specific reason not to. Yeah, so I'm going to apply the modifiers. Yeah, and notice my modifier goes away. I've got one piece of mesh, just like we had before. And now I'm going to go to UV, editing up here, and you'll notice my texture, because I've already applied it, is in my UV map. I'm going to go select all. And you'll notice that my table is tiny in the middle. So what I'm going to do now is UV unwrap, Smart UV project, and I'm going to go OK. And now it does its best to make my UV as it can to match to my texture. Now, it's not, because the UV is not square, because the texture wasn't square, the UV is not going to be square. And it's trying to make it square. So it will do it, but it won't do a brilliant job for now. But for now, when I come out of, I'm just going to slide this over a minute. As I said, select between the two lines and drag it over. And I'm going to drag my UV over on the other side, like so. You can move your windows around as much as you like. Okay, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to go to Materials, take off the Show Overlays, and now we have a table. Ta-da! Guess what? There's a difference between the two tables. There's a huge difference between the two tables. And the reason being is, anybody, I don't know if you know or not, because I didn't do something. I didn't apply everything before I applied the material. Yeah. So it's applied the material and then it's trying to make the mesh, and you'll notice it's got a wheel line here, a wheel line there. You can edit it on the UV map. So I'm going to show you how. We used UV Smart Project. I'm going to select all. And all I'm going to use now is UV, and I'm going to use cube projection because your table's a bit like a cube. So I'm going to use cube projection. And dumph. Notice our table is looking so much nicer. Doesn't look like somebody's taken it and made a jigsaw puzzle out of it. Yeah. Our UVs are all applied. What I can do at the same time as I'm here, if I decide, and I am going to decide, I want to make all these UVs actually scale, I can bring my UV map up right to the edge of my texture, and now I'm happy and we're done. Object mode. Yeah, I'm going to go back to layout mode, and there's my table. And that, unless my AVL's crashed, which it looks like it has, should be done. I'm now going to File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as a Blender 4. No, sorry, Table 4 even, a Blender file. Okay. And there we go. Save As. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open another file, one I made earlier. If anybody's from the UK, yes, I'm doing a Blue Peter. I'm going to open. I've saved that file. So I'm going to open, and I'm going to open another file. Yeah. You'll notice I've got something different in my file. I've got your tables. Yeah. Tables you made before. See, made lots of them. Practice, practice, practice. I can't say that enough. Blender is practice. Making mistakes, doing stuff, practicing. Okay. The thing I have got is I've got a desk. Not a table, a desk. Okay. But guess what? That's kind of our time for today. Notice I have not given you anything to upload to AVL. There is a reason for that, because if you really want a table on AVL, there's 1,001 of those tables over in the Creator Hub already in SL, already made, already built. You don't need to upload a table. However, the reason why I've got you all to make a table is it teaches you all the basic skills. Teaches you the interface, moving around. You've learnt about that, hopefully. Teaches you the tools. Teaches you between the various modes. Teaches you about making a material. We did quickly. And we're just going to go, last couple of minutes before I let you go, I'm just going to go back into the material tab. Okay. I'm going to go back into shading. And I'm going to explain something. Yeah. The quick version. Okay. We will go over this in more detail. We'll probably do a whole week on this. Okay. Normal maps. See here? Mapping. The thing I didn't do earlier, or I didn't do on my version, I didn't connect my vector. So I'm going to connect the vector up now. I've just spotted that. Notice. Make mistakes. Lots of them. It's fine to make mistakes. Yeah. Okay. Ambient inclusion has not been linked into this one, but I've got a wood texture. Okay. The things I'm going to tell you about are specular. Specular goes into specular. It's easy. Yeah. Okay. Ambient inclusion goes into another map, which we will do later. You've also got metallic maps. If your material's got a metallic map, please use it. If your material's got an arthroscopic map, please use it. If it's got transmission, again, use it. If it's got normal, you will need a bump node between your normal map or your bump map and the normal. Yeah. Okay. It is that easy. Yeah. However, Node Wrangler can do most of the work for you. Can't do it all, but can do most of the work for you. We will go into textures in more detail. However, if you want to have a go, guess what? You can make a desk. You now have the skills to make a desk, apart from one little bit. And the little bit, I'm going to quickly show you. Because layout. Making a desk. Should we make a desk? I'm going to show you how quickly and easily you can do something because we've done a lot today. So I'm going to have a little bit of fun. Object mode. I'm going to add, mesh, cube, done. I'm going to go over. I'm going to move it up. I'm going to go straight into object, edit mode, because it's when I work. It's my workflow. Yeah. And I'm going to take my desk and I'm going to stretch up. Control Z. I'm going to select face mode, select my face, move my face out, select my other face, and move it out. I'm then going to use some loop cuts. I'm going to cut my desk 1. Now down here on loop cuts, I can make as many loop cuts as I like. So I'm only making 1, but I want to make it 3 even pieces. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, made it. I'm then going to go 1, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, made it. The one piece of it bit you don't have is this next bit. The only bit you've not got, the only bit I've not taught you. Okay, I'm going to select the face, or rather, let me get that right. I'm going to go back to there. Now I can select the face, and I'm going to select all these faces. I'm not going to select these ones because I'm not going to be using them. And I'm going to select these faces, and then I'm going to go and use insert face down there. Insert face will make a face within a face. So if we do it, it'll show you it. There we go. Insert face. And then all we're going to do, once we've inserted the face, I'm going to extrude it. But I'm not just going to extrude those faces. I'm going to select, 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 select. I'm going to select, 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 select. Yeah, I'm going to select, 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 select. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it all back. How am I dragging it all back? I'm using the extrude tool. So let me just come out and show you where the extrude tool is, which is there. And then I'm just going to drag it all back like so. And I've done it all. Wow, that was quick. Apart from one thing. I've got one little bit of face that I don't like and I want to get rid of. So what I'll do is I go to my face select, and I delete the face. Notice face there, delete and face. And I've got another one there, but delete the face. And there we go. One desk. Okay, well now, go back to object mode. I'm going to go back and do what we always do. Object, transform, apply, all transformations. Yep. Now, I'm going to mention something now that I should have mentioned earlier, but I keep always forgetting. This is your origin point. I'm going to need to move the origin. So all I'll do is right click on the object. I'm going to go to set origin, origin to geometry. If I put geometry to origin, it will move the mesh from here back to the origin down there. I want to move my set origin to geometry. There we go. So when I'm moving it where the geometry is, right in the middle of the mesh. Okay, now I'm going to object, as I said, and we're going to apply all transformations. Yeah. So I've done all the transformations, and I'm going to set origin to geometry. Yeah. And now I can click, and the origin's in the right place. Now I'm going to UV, and I'm going to select it, select all. Notice my UV is looking at the wrong table. I need to go to view mode. I'm going to frame selected, and then move my camera to the right one. So, and what we're doing, select all. And there's my UV. Just zoomed in either with the mouse up there or with your scroll button on the middle mouse button. Yeah. And I got a UV. And I'm going to smart UV unwrap it. And I'm going to click OK. And it will make a UV map. Yep. Now I'm going to go to my shading editor. Yeah. And again, I'm going to move over. I'm just going to drag over this time because I can see what it is. Drag over, hold down the little hand button, move your mouse right even, and move the mouse so you can see the actual object. Okay. But all I want to do is I want to apply the texture. We know that little line hand down there. We've already made the texture. And material. Boom. Table. Yep. See? Table. Nice table. Well, sorry, not table. Desk even. Yeah. I'm going to go to layout mode. And you will see now you've made a desk. It's not going to do drawers or anything in here. We'll do them at a later date. What I want you to do for next time is I want to use all the skills you've learned today. I want you to have a go at making something else. You can make a desk. You can make a table. You can make a chair. Any one of them. Have a go. Let me know how you get on. That's the live stream over. So I'm just going to log back in because AV logged me out. And I will be back with you in 1 minute. And hopefully there's somebody left. Oh, just before I end the live stream, what do I need to do? I need to file, save as, and we're going to call it table final 2 p.m. You're the 2 p.m. people. Save as. and I will get all these resources to you, share all the resources, including the texture libraries and everything else, and where you can download textures, and also some extra goodies for you. I'll put them all up on the Google Drive and get it all out to you. That's why I asked for note cards off you, so I could actually get resources to you. File, and now I'm back in AV, so I'm going to kill the stream and hopefully catch you before you all... No, everybody else is gone. Oh, I bought them. Ow.